I'm Clive Baker and I'm the sort of project manager, I suppose you can call me that, for the project to restore the remains of Rolleston railway station. Now I'm standing at the moment by the entrance to the Jinny Nature Trail, which goes between Stretton and Rolleston on Dove. So beside me is a sign that I created in partnership with the parish council, which shows everything to do with the station that was once here. I've used 3D models to recreate the buildings, which unfortunately were demolished in the 60s, and hopefully people who come along this way and probably have already come from Stretton, they see the remains, they wonder what they are, they can look at this sign and that will inform them of how things were in a station which was here from 1894 until its closure in 1949. I grew up in Horninglow, within earshot of the famous Tutbury Jinny. Well known to many people around here, it was the train which shuttled between Burton-upon-Trent and Tutbury. It started in 1848 when the line first opened. It was a non-stop service between Burton and Tutbury. When the stations, the intermediate stations along this line opened, Horninglow was the first, Rolleston came in 1894 and Stretton later in 1901. Then the Tutbury Jinny stopped at all those stations. It was a much loved little train, and as a boy it fascinated me greatly. I remember watching the very last one go through the level crossing gates at Horninglow in June 1960, after a very hard fought battle involving the Member of Parliament for the time, the late Mr. John Jennings, to save this, what he called, a wonderful old lady. So really it was that little train that created my interest in this particular railway line. Daily farmers from the village would bring their milk up this steep hill in their horses and carts, and they would take them right to the top and through the goods yard to the milk dock, which is on the Stretton side of the station. The milk dock actually faced the main line because obviously milk had to be transported quickly. So the milk would be put on either special milk trains or passenger trains and usually went to Eggington Dairy. Another dairy in the area, of course, was what is now the coffee plant at Hatton, and I'm assuming that probably milk went to that destination as well. I'm standing now at the top of Station Hill, and this post here was one of the gate posts to the gate which protected the goods yard from the public. Just at this point, intending passengers would have walked up the hill and they would have turned in that direction and then walk up the platform to the booking hall to buy their ticket. Once their ticket was bought, if they were heading for Burton, they would then come back down the platform ramp and they would actually walk across the line. Before the days of health and safety, people looked out for trains coming and would cross the line on the level. A relic that we found that we weren't expecting to find is this stub of one of the signals. It's not one of the original signals that were put here by the North Staffs Railway, who built this railway line. It was actually quite a modern signal which was installed in 1951-1952 time, when the whole of this railway route was re-signalled. We were quite surprised to find it though, and it's something we're going to clean up, put some paint on it, and obviously some white paint on the balance weight which you see there. Obviously we needed funding to do this project as we would like to do it, and my wife spent a lot of time. My wife's a very, very important person on this project actually. She's given me an enormous amount of support on it, and I sometimes think she's keener on it than I am. But she spent an enormous amount of time preparing a bid for the Heritage Lottery Fund. To my surprise, we came back from holiday in April and I looked through my emails and there it was. We'd been awarded £7,600 from the Heritage Lottery Fund. So from that point onwards we could really start the project in earnest. Also on the funding front, Treats, who I've said organise the Rolleston Transport Festival each year, this year awarded us £600 for the proceeds. So we're very, very grateful to them as well. So all being well, we can achieve certainly phase 1 of this project. That is to reinstate the platforms, to put a replica station name board here, a station seat, and have this place looking a little bit more like a station.
Hello, I'm Rosemary, Clive's wife, and we have working parties here the first Saturday in the month. And what the working party has been doing has been clearing all the brambles and weeds out, getting on today. Now we've got this far, we are clearing the ground, raking it through, pulling out brick ends which are being loaded into the trailer behind me, in ready for, well, in preparation for hopefully being able by at least the middle of October to be planting the wildflower seeds and spring bulbs. Within the bed here we've planted a rosemary in each of the flower beds, and the rosemary is significant because rosemary, as in Shakespeare's Hamlet, rosemary is for remembrance, and we're going to put a little plaque because we'd like to remember the railway workers that died in the war and all the people that probably left for the First World War from this station who didn't return as well.
I'm Maureen Martin from 20 Lands, one of the working party, and at the moment we're clearing the path ready for the man to come and put the tarmac on, and we've done the little gardens that were originally here. Hopefully we're going to be planted up under there with ferns and wildflowers.
Hey, that's looking good, Joe. That's looking great. So I'm standing on the edge of the southbound platform, or the upline platform as we know it. We've realigned the platform edge with slabs, and obviously the tarmac is going to be made good, but at this point people would board the train for Burton. So where I'm standing now is where the waiting shelter on the southbound platform was built. It was only a small wooden building, and the one at Rolleston was very much like others at various other North Staffordshire railway stations, but this one differed from others, to the best of my knowledge, in that it had a closed-in front with a door, and the footprint that I'm standing on here, the concrete base, indicates that there were probably 2 rooms. We know that there was a little stove in here because we found the front to the where you pull out to get the ash out, and that is now stored amongst our other memorabilia that we've found. But around the site we're going to be positioning signs similar to this one that you see here. This really is just the pilot one to test how it would work. They will describe what was at a particular position on the station, and with the explanation there will be a little illustration showing what the actual building looked like. So this was the southbound waiting shelter. It would have been possibly used by the Moseley family because before the First World War there was in actual fact a direct train to London. It came from Buxton, came via Toxeter, and then would have gone on through Burton-on-Trent to Nuneaton, and the coaches of that train would be joined to a mainline London-bound, London Euston that is, express. Didn't stop at Rolleston, wasn't timetabled to stop at Rolleston. If the Mosleys wanted to go to London, it stopped specially for them. I'm now standing at the south end of the station. I'm still on the southbound platform. I'm looking across to the northbound platform, not as finished as the southbound. The southbound platform was in the better condition when we first started this project, in so much that the back wall remained intact. There was a back wall to the northbound platform, but that was demolished. Beyond the northbound platform, where I'm standing, was a goods loop. The goods wagons were shunted around the back of that platform, but coming over now in the southbound direction, a little way down the Jinny Nature Trail, we can find the old cattle dock and also the milk dock. cattle were herded directly to the station. They didn't come in cattle wagons. Obviously cattle would have been herded from the main part of the village, and they would have come up the road that we've already talked about, but also they were herded from Craythorne, which is over in the other direction, and the traces of that track can still be found, and they would come onto what is now South Hill, and on South Hill situated the railway houses. This was a block of 3 dwellings, the station master's house, which still looks very much as it would have done in the North Staffordshire Railway days, and adjoining it were 2 houses for staff. So we're going to have a grand opening on the 2nd of November of this year, which is a Saturday. Various people will be coming. One particular guest is a gentleman who grew up in one of the railway station houses. His father worked on the railway, and he's already supplied me with a lot of his memories of how things were here, how the railway was run, the people who travel on the railway, etc. In the future, I hope that this will be a nice, pleasant place to walk. It will make walking on the Jinny Trail a more interesting experience. There will be signage here which won't only tell people about the railway heritage, it will also explain the fauna and flora of this area. And in general, we want to make Rolleston Station a nice, really interesting feature on the Jinny Nature Trail. We intend to celebrate that 120th anniversary with a little ceremony on this platform. Hopefully our mayor will be with Mayoress, who's a Rollstonian this year, also our MP and various members of the parish council, and all people who've helped in this project in any way. We'll just come along and briefly celebrate the 120th anniversary of the railway coming to Rolleston. When a railway came to a place, it changed the expectations of the people living in that place, and it certainly did that in Rolleston.